Good Gab, sponsored by Skillskin, a nonprofit organization empowering individuals with disabilities through employment. Spring day in Spokane, you never know what you'll get, but I'll tell you what you're going to get today. An awesome guest. This is Traci McGlathery, VP of Community Relations at STCU. Traci, thanks for joining us today. How's everything going?
It's great. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. So what's happening in the world of STCU?
Oh, things are always happening at STCU. Just yesterday, we wrapped up a great partnership with KXLY. We did a little spring cleaning with Coats for Kids and had incredible support from the community and members. I just got a report from the team that we picked up about 20 to 30 bags of coats.
Nice. Hopefully it wasn't outside. It was kind of windy yesterday.
It was a little blustery,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
indeed. But so 30 bags, that's big impact.
It is big impact, and we still had 2 more branches to go to. I think it just shows that this community is pretty phenomenal. When we put our minds and our hands together, we can do a lot.
No doubt. Well, so what drives the organization to, be involved in the community, the way that you are?
Absolutely. So we're a credit union, so a not-for-profit financial institution that was founded on the principle of people helping people. Pretty simple principle. There's 2 people in the relationship. There's the members and there's the credit union. So everything we do focus around the members. And for our members, community matters.
Makes sense.
So we give, and we always have given, because it's the right thing to do. It's helping our members, it's helping our community, and it's just making this fabric of this collective cooperation work.
And you were founded here, right?
Yes, we are going to have our 90th birthday this year.
90. Congrats.
Thank you.
Hopefully there'll be a nice celebration throughout the year around that. That's a long time.
It is a long time. We're working on some ideas. We're unique. We were a credit union that was founded by educators. In fact, 10 educators in 1934, 9 of which were women at Lewis and Clark High School.
So we're going to have our own bank? Yeah. So we're going to have...
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
We grew up and we existed out of the second floor of Lewis and Clark High School until the 60s.
Wow. There's some history there I didn't know.
There is. That's why education is so much a part of who we are. It's one of the most significant things that we do to invest in our own team members. It's what we do in our outreach as one of those foundational areas of opportunity for us to give back.
Yeah, the fabric of who you are. Incredible. All right, so there's a credit union being facilitated out of Lewis and Clark High School. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so as that evolved, tell us more of that story.
Sure. So in the 60s, they bought their first property, which is what we call our main branch, which is on Nora, just a couple blocks off of Division, and operated out of that space until they grew to Newport and Valley. So Newport, there was a small entity that rolled into STCU, and then we had our Valley branch. And so for a very long time, we had 3 branches.
That's kind of how I remembered it growing up here. It was just, and I always just thought, oh yeah, teachers are involved in that. And then it changed.
Yes. Then something called the community charter evolved in the late 90s, where if you live, work, worship, pretty much breathe in the state of Washington or North Idaho, you can join the credit union.
So so tell us about that growth. Like, why did people want to come and partner with you all?
Well, I'll give a couple aspects to that. One, we serve in 39 locations now. And so I've been there just under 14 years. And when I joined...
14? So yeah, you've seen a lot of this growth.
I have. And I joined as the 14th branch was being opened, which was our South Valley branch. So one is we've grown to meet the needs of our members. So where our members have asked for us to be present, we've done our best. And I would say one thing that I think is incredibly significant is in the height of 2020 and 2021, we actually added 13 branches, of which were all rural. So we went into communities that were maybe not being served or had other entities that wished to leave that community. And so we added 13 branches. And this is like Colville, Kettle Falls, Republic, Brewster, Othello, Ritzville. So now our entity is Eastern Washington, Central Washington, North Idaho.
How far into central Washington do you go?
Othello is the farthest
Okay.
west into the Tri-Cities, and then Omak and, and Kettle Falls, so pretty far north. And then if you come back across, Newport, Bonner, and then down into Coeur d'Alene.
Incredible. So that like during that time, like if those communities would have lost, banking, in their community, that would have been a big deal.
It is a huge deal. There's a trend of access to financial services is getting more difficult, and that the thought is that everybody can access through digital, but not everybody can.
Right.
Especially in the state of Washington, especially in Eastern Washington, we have a broadband issue. We have a broadband issue in Spokane.
We have a broadband issue at my house, and I'm just 15 miles west of here. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so not everything can be done. And plus our members, it's a highly relational model. Our members are great friends with their tellers, their business banker, et cetera. Like they get to know their families, and it's that level of service. So people choose the credit union because of where we're at and what we provide. And when you're in and your accounts are with a credit union, it's a cooperative. So the more you use it, the more you benefit through lower fees. You get a little bit better interest rates. And so that's a big part of the model. The other part of the model is who we are and how we function inside of the communities we serve. We do a lot of giving back.
Yeah, so how's that look like in Othello?
Oh, sure. So Othello, 2 years in, we have a team of 7 at the branch and a few that work in Othello that actually are from our call center. And so they're in a market, and then they're working for us remotely or at the branch.
That's really creative.
It is creative.
So then that's jobs in that community too.
It is jobs in the community. And so we had a couple of fascinating opportunities in Othello. So Othello had recently lost one of their communication channels. It was a daily paper, I believe, and they'd been fundraising for a while for a reader board, but they weren't able to get to the finish line. They had one of the business owners was willing to give part of their property, and so we came in and we finished with $15,000 to get the collective funds to put up a reader board that now lists the chamber meeting, the festival, the 4th of July parade, schools starting.
Nice.
And so that was super cool. That was like our first big endeavor at Othello.
And that's real impact because, that's how you're going to get information.
True.
Cool.
It brings community. It builds community. And then we had the opportunity, we invest in a lot of schools. And so we have this model where we create signage for them that they can then produce revenue to increase the dollars for the school for activities, athletics, drama, clubs, et cetera. So we put about $50,000 into the Othello School District within our first 6 months of being there.
Incredible. So these are not small dollars. Like you are really investing in these communities.
We really try. And we do our best to learn. Each community is unique to itself. To learn what's most important to them, to figure out what aligns with some of our values. So our giving has been rooted in education, arts and culture, and community for a very, very long time. And so
that's the framework that you look through.
That's the framework of our giving. Mm-hmm.
But you allow a community to, be who they are, it sounds like, and come together.
Absolutely. And they know the community best. And then our team members that are at their community are wonderful resources and give a lot of ideas. And then we figure out what's the best way to support. So it looks different in a lot of our rural communities.
Okay, so it's not, these decisions aren't happening at the home office necessarily or in like the boardrooms of like who we're giving to. Like you're really going out and connecting on the ground where you're at. Where you can impact the most.
Yes, it's a team effort. And I would say the other thing is we're accessible to anyone to apply for a grant. So we have a portal where you can go to stcu.org/donations, and you can request from the organization for a donation, a sponsorship, etc.
Okay, so if I was running a nonprofit and I'm like the mystery of, how do I get donations? Like there it is, right there. That's the portal.
It is, and it represents both what we give as far as STCU and then also our newly organized and started Here for Good Foundation.
Ooh, tell us more about that.
So January of last year, we launched STCU's Here for Good Foundation. And really...
I believe that statement after 90 years. Yeah, I think so.
Really, where this came from was the idea of, how do we demonstrate that we're committed to serving our members and serving our community? And so when we grew, because we were Spokane for a very long time, and we've been in North Idaho, it's about 19 years. So not long in our 90 years of history have we been outside of this little nucleus
Right.
inside of Spokane. So as you grow and you start to have more members and you have more communities, schools, etc., it's how do you show and demonstrate that you're doing good everywhere? So what we wanted to do is create an endowment where we are giving a committed allotment of dollars, and we'll grow that over time. So we started the Here for Good Foundation with $1 million.
Wow, that's big seed money.
It is, and in our first year, we gave out over $450,000 in grants.
Wow. How are you going to keep that level going?
Well, I would say that there's a commitment from our leadership that, this is who we are, that, when the credit union is able to help others thrive, when we are able to connect entities, to leverage the ability to grow capacity, to give a tool they may not have had otherwise, we all benefit.
Hear, hear. That's amazing. I mean, those are big numbers that you're talking about. What about just like the credit union's philosophy on growth? Are we going to get outside of Eastern Washington, or it's like, no, we want to be here?
Well, for those that know Ezra Eckhart, my CEO and president, I think a great way of demonstrating that is the growth that we did in the last 3 years. That when there was need in communities, we responded. When people came to us and said, would you consider, we responded. So one of those examples is Cooley Dam Federal Credit Union, a smaller credit union in Central Washington. There's a lot of regulation. There's a lot of products and services, and to keep up with the digital growth, and they were needing a succession plan to merge in with us. And so it's like a marriage. They become part of our family, and then all of their members are then accessible to everything that STCU offers. Super important to us that we honored everything that they had done before. And so one of the things that we did is they had a scholarship, and so we endowed a scholarship called the CDFCU scholarship, powered by STCU, that is housed in the Columbia Basin Foundation, so that the community knew that $1,000 scholarship is going to go into perpetuity.
And they counted on that, and they
Yes.
wanted to read about who was going to get that.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, no, we like you. Let's do it.
So that's continuing. And so, yes, will we grow? Absolutely. We have to. And actually, that's kind of the model of financial institutions is you do need to continue to grow to be able to have the resources to offer those new products and services, to enhance your digital access, to be able to mitigate this incredibly fun rising rate environment.
No doubt.
This is a tough time.
Well, even just talking about how do you scale in the regulatory environment too, it's like we're going through that right now at Skillskin. We're merging with an organization called Skookum out of Bremerton, Washington, and they're a nationwide company and about almost 20 times the size of us, just dollars and cents wise, and being able to be a part of a group like that, we can actually, meet our mission in a bigger and more deeper way and work through those, the regulatory environment. We're government contractors. And so the rules keep coming, but they don't change the dollars and how you're reimbursed. So yeah, I think that might be happening across a whole lot of different industries. Yeah.
It is. We're feeling it. That's part of my role as advocacy as well for the credit union. So I've spent a good deal of time in Washington, D.C. and Olympia to oftentimes try to shape what is coming to
So you're going to the Hill and just having conversations?
I do.
Awesome.
On behalf.
Do you love that advocacy work?
I do, because what I'm doing is speaking on behalf of the members. We approach, it's not political for us. It's all nonpartisan. We're looking for individuals that support the credit union movement. We're trying to not have unintended consequences from some of the regulations that come. program. It sounds like you're very familiar with that as well. And for us, a credit union is a not-for-profit, meaning we don't pay the corporate tax.
Right.
We pay every other tax.
Naturally.
But that ability to not pay that tax is given back to our members. So that's our structure that allows the value to give back and make impact. If we were to lose that not-for-profit status, technically, we might as well be a bank.
Definitely.
And so
what does community impact look like then?
Well, your mission changes, because then there's 3 in the equation, because then you have investors.
Yeah, profit comes in.
You have different accountabilities. So for us, I think it's one of the greatest missions that we're here to serve our members. And our members are first and foremost, right after our employees. Because I will say this, it's our employees always.
That's good to hear, because that's certainly the messaging, just to, a lay person in the public, and just, I don't know anything about STCU, but like I hear the stories, and that's one of them. Like, you really care about the people you work with.
Absolutely. The organization offers amazing benefits. The amount of professional development inside that we give to all of our team members, and the access of which I have. I get to have a mentoring session this afternoon from one of my leaders. And we have tuition reimbursement so that you can come and work for us, and then you can grow your career. You can, enrich that path of that economic mobility.
Where does that come from? Because, those are big investments that an organization does, and not many companies, think that way.
Where I do believe it's a special place. And I saw it firsthand when many were rocked in 2020 and had children that all of a sudden were home and they needed to go to school. And how do you manage your position that might have been a teller at a branch? We had about 120, give or take, and I believe that was of about 800 employees, that the organization shifted responsibilities, adjusted schedules, adapted and adopted in many different ways to be there to assist them and how they could assist the credit union. So the flexibility was phenomenal.
Wow, I bet you have some really loyal teammates.
We do.
Yeah.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, so how did you get into this world?
Oh, how did I get into this world? So I am a Spokane native.
Nice.
And yes, Spokane native. And I grew up with parents that had, I think, the coolest jobs in the world. So my dad ran Riverfront Park.
Pretty dang cool.
Pretty cool. And my mom was in hotels, and then she became an event supervisor for the Coliseum and the Opera House and the Convention Center. So
Dang, so your whole family's been kind of like core to downtown for some time.
Yes. And
now you're sponsoring some of Riverfront Park. How cool is that?
It is pretty full circle. So I loved to go to work with my parents. I loved my mom, the marketing was her side, and my dad was, city government and being before the city council, so the advocacy and the representing individuals to have access to Riverfront Park of, all economic needs. The park, one of the greatest things they did is a day pass, 25 years ago to give access.
I was one of the kids. I was like my babysitter. My mom worked at Huppins, and during the summer, like, you're old enough to, not be at home by yourself, but you're old enough to maybe go out. They got me that park pass, and I would just live there. And then, mom would take me to work, go say hi to Murray Huppin and Sam, and then go to the park. Yeah, go to Rocky Rococo's, and then come back. And that, I know, impacted my family because they didn't have to spend money on babysitters they didn't need. And it gave me some independence and freedom to go explore the world. So thank you. Thank your dad.
Thank you. And so growing up in a community, we live in such an amazing gem of a space. Like, one, we have this river that runs through with the largest falls this side of St. Paul, Minneapolis. We have 245 days of sunshine, 75 lakes within 35 miles. How do I know all that? Because after I went to school in New York City, I fell back into hospitality along with my family and represented
come back
the city.
into the fold.
Yeah, and represented selling this community to others to visit, to bring your dollars and come invest in our community, and we'll take great care of you.
Were you part of that economic development organization that was here? It's like pre-GSI times?
Oh, I actually worked in the hospitality industry. So I worked for hotels to
Okay.
begin with.
So selling conventions.
Conventions, and my niche was sports and athletics. So like the creation of the PNQ.
Yeah.
I was in
You were
that.
part of that? Look how that's involved.
It's
Evolved.
amazing.
Excuse me. It's incredible.
3 weekends, the largest significant economic impact for the area. Then you add the Hoop Fest and the NCAA tournaments. That was my other area that I contributed to. So I
So
had
you
a
were
pretty cool.
foundational to some of we had Spokane Sports here just maybe a month and a half ago, and kind of learning about not millions, tens of millions of dollars per year coming in, their impact here. And so you were part of that from the beginning, huh?
Well, not necessarily from the beginning, because, if you're really going to go back in time and see where things started, I think you have to give Bloomsday one of the largest nods. Like if you're going to go back and say when we started to have these events that brought community together to participate, but significant volunteer bases.
Uh-huh.
Because if you look at the major things that this community has done, it has taken significant volunteer bases, whether that's Expo, whether that's the med school, whether it's Hoop Fest, Bloomsday.
That is the glue that pulls it all together. The people who say, yep, I want to be a part of this. And yeah, unpaid.
It is. The people here are pretty phenomenal. I'll give an anecdote. So I went to school in New York City, and it was a great experience. But I found myself possibly being a bit chatty in the grocery store line.
All right.
Of which you don't do that in New York.
Who are you?
Correct, because they thought I had an angle. And I was just used to our Pacific Northwest hospitality of, seeing maybe you pulled out your debit card that's from STCU and you're like, oh, I'm a member too. And how's your day? Or, oh, that's a great thing. You just...
Let alone smile.
Yeah, it was just different. And not that it was wrong. It was just different. And I started to learn a few things that were different about living in a big city versus being in a community that's fairly significant in size, but small in that you know who you can call to ask a question, to open a door, to seek advice.
I know it's a pretty special spot, huh?
It is.
So you came back and you're like, here we go.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's keeping you in this credit union world now? It's like STCU, I can understand. Like, this sounds like a pretty amazing place. Making big impact.
It is. I would say, so my personal values align identical to the credit union's values. So when you can have a position where you believe in what you do, and so my role as community relations with a team that gives back, that does the advocacy to make sure that we're doing what we can to protect the credit union, but we also advocate on behalf of education about access to affordable and accessible childcare, about affordable housing. And so to do work that is giving the ability to make our community and our communities better, stronger, to utilize the resources we have, to make connections, to facilitate, to collaborate. It's pretty special to see that ability to make an impact.
What drives that about you personally, that part of service to community?
My parents. So my father in particular, running Riverfront Park, and before that it was the community centers. So Northeast Youth Center was one that he wrote the grant for to have it be created like 52 years ago. And then you had like East Central and West Central, and then you had the senior centers. So as a young child, I would go with my dad to all these places and see the impact of this sense of community, to see where you had other resources that would come to help, individuals in the neighborhood that maybe were place bound.
Uh-huh.
To be able to find the support systems they needed. So I was exposed in great ways to seeing how government, nonprofits, corporations can work together, because United Way was one of those entities that I learned about really young, and how
making big impacts.
Mm-hmm.
So as you start to look to the future, with your organization, your heart for service, what do you see for the future of Spokane? Is there anything that you're getting really excited about right now?
I think it's an interesting time when we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Expo. And if you look at the monumental feat of what had to be done just to get the property.
Right?
Yes. And look at the result. We have this 100-acre park that is a jewel.
Truly.
And a downtown that, has the ability to reemerge. It's going to take a lot of effort of all of us, but that we have that ability of like that city center and that collective. But then we also can have the ability to have pockets where we have communities around us that have their own identities and opportunities, whether that's Liberty Lake or Chewelah or Colville, et cetera. But, I do think that there's a great future, and I think there's a great future because of the people.
Cheers to that. Dang, Traci. All right. So I'm just learning so much. It's good to see another, native Spokanite around. I'm thinking about just all the sponsorships that happen with STCU. I'm thinking about just my own view of like, hey, it's a lot of people and individuals, working with credit unions. What about the business community? Like, do you make loans for like building apartment buildings and doing stuff like that? You kind of mentioned a little bit of housing,
Sure.
things like that. Is that part of the world?
Yes, we do. We have a STCU business banking. We have an entire team that has done commercial real estate loans, does business banking. We do loans for multifamily. We actually giving our time and talent. So my CEO has a real personal passion for finding solutions to try to do some growth in this exorbitant need that we have for housing.
Yeah.
So we're partnering currently with other credit unions, and SNAP is one of the leads in the organization, along with many others like Habitat for Humanity and others that are trying to figure out how can we secure some of these government-funded models for the east side of the state. They've been utilized on the west side of the state, but they haven't been utilized as much on the east side of the state. So how can we come together? And it's going to take public and private and our nonprofits to do this work together, because we have such a deficiency in the amount of available, if you just want to call them units, whether that's an apartment, whether it's a house, where it's a multifamily, et cetera. We are just behind the curve.
Yeah, like I heard some number the other day, it was like 30,000 units short right now. It's like, how do you build yourself out of that? You got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely. And I think
so you're working on that.
We're working on
All
that
right.
too. So you have, we changed legislation locally about density. So Northeast,
Which is amazing.
It is. And so you have like the Northeast PDA with the Northeast Community Center that then we connected to SNAP. And now they're working on the idea of building on their property a number of units, but also how do they help some of our residents who, especially in North Spokane, where you have a little larger lot, but maybe the taxes and that your incomes become fixed and it's getting harder and harder to get by. So what could you do with an ADU or an accessory dwelling unit?
Yeah.
Yes. What could you do that if you put that on there, could you get an income stream that would offset
or keep you there on the property?
Keep you there and keep you
That's
housed.
creative.
Or does your parent need to come and live with you, or your children? And so trying to find some creative yet affordable. And part of the barrier, frankly, is the affordability of before you even turn the dirt, there's just a lot of cost.
Yep.
And so that's going to take all of us, city government, county government, those that are building, those that are developing, et cetera, to figure out how do we come up with some different solutions.
Well, maybe there's a grand plan that y'all can be a part of, like when that north-south freeway interchange happens and WashDOT has a bunch of land that they don't need anymore. Maybe something can arise from that area.
You're so wise. That's the land bank.
And that's happened?
So we created a land bank in Spokane where
Ben Stuckhart talked about that a little
that
bit. Okay.
Exactly. Ben led that, and the credit unions came behind. If there's this, you can create this entity that can take properties. So specifically, the WASDOT properties that then can be attributed to the land bank can be held to then go back for affordable housing. So if you think about it, a nonprofit can maybe do 1, 2, 3 projects at a time.
Right.
They
There's
can't
no
go,
capacity to do bigger.
correct. And they can't go and buy a bunch of land when it's less expensive to acquire it. And so this land bank allows those lands to kind of be held and be ready for when there's opportunity. What was the beauty of this land bank that I don't know that we anticipated? You have some amazing developers and community members who held property, who wanted the property to go to good use, who came to the land bank and either sold it for way under market or donated the land.
And if you're listening right now, I bet you could connect up with Traci and she'll figure out a way to get you in touch.
Yes,
to add more.
Absolutely. And so then, because WASDOT is going to have lands that can be reattributed. And, there's some listening sessions that are happening right now around what's available around I-90 in that East Central neighborhood to make sure that the neighborhood has say in what they want.
You do have a cool job. Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here today. We learned so much. Thank you for joining us. Any parting thoughts for our guests?
Oh, that's a tough one. I feel blessed and grateful to work for STCU, Here for Good being our brand promise, and that everything we do each and every day is to make sure that we're serving our members and serving our community, and to be entrusted with doing that on behalf of our members, and then honestly doing it side by side with our other credit unions in this cooperative space. It's pretty phenomenal, and that we know that when we come together with collective hands, we can do a lot of good. And I know there's a lot of divisiveness and there's a lot of things out there, but we have to be willing to come to the table and listen. We have to be willing to come in with maybe a little bit more of an open mind and level of understanding and empathy, because if we don't come to the table, we won't fix it.
True. You heard it here. Come to the table. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing everything, with us today. And just really pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you all.